Welcome back to the Wild Ones podcast, a show where we chat about bike stuff. I am Jimmy, this is Emily, this is Francis, and we have started the show.
Oh, it's good to be back.
It is, yeah. I'm a little bit achy. I actually think we're all a bit achy. You're still achy from your bike crash.
Yeah.
Should have gone to see a doctor, but you didn't, because that's what Francis does. Emily did a swim and is achy, and I did the Kielder half marathon.
Well done.
And it was great fun.
Congrats.
It was really enjoyable. Thank you.
Any highlights? Any lowlights?
The highlights. So it's in an incredibly beautiful place. The run is absolutely beautiful, but incredibly hard. I was very prepared to just have a good time, and I had a very, very good time.
What makes it hard? Elevation?
Elevation and gravel.
Oh, speaking of gravel, this weekend saw the Gravel World Championships. Matthew van der Poel took the men's title while Marianne Vos won the women's race. Did you see the weird wheel tyre thing she was riding?
I did.
Apparently, we all speculate that we've talked about this in the podcast before, but as I've mentioned before, as soon as a podcast is finished, everything gets deleted from my brain, so I can't actually remember if we have.
See, I feel the opposite. I feel like I'm an encyclopedia of episodes, but I don't remember it. So I wrote this, and then you were, oh yeah, we've talked about this before. Have we? But anyway, regardless, we're going to talk about it anyway. Tell us about it, Francis, please.
It's a €3,900 self-inflating tyre system from a Dutch company called Gravar, AA, at the end of Grav. And it basically allows you to change your tyre pressure remotely as you are riding. The idea is that you can adapt your tyre pressure based on the surface you're on. So if it's a mixed surface course, like the Gravel World Champs was, you can run lower pressures on the gravelly bits and then re-inflate for the tarmac sections. This weekend's race finished on tarmac, where Vos won in a two-up sprint against Lotte Kopecky. Obviously, we know how incredible Vos is in a sprint anyway, but clearly Visma Lease a Bike see the benefits of this tech for a race like this. The hub looks big and potentially heavy. So whatever calculations they've done, they clearly they think it's worth it.
So for listeners, it's a slightly larger hub with a
stick
tube that runs down one of the spokes with then a valve, a little wire, and then a valve that goes into the Presta valve.
So apparently the hub sucks in air as it's going around.
It acts like a compressor. But obviously, have you seen the compressor in the bike shop? It's like a big thing which has to be hooked up to power and also explodes. There was one day I came in and Nick's compressor was just a black mess on the ground because they'd left it running and it was outside and it exploded. Anyway, that shouldn't happen to this because but it uses the power of that is generated by you rolling along.
But how can a wheel rotating be sufficient compression for it to be able to then inflate a tyre? That seems bonkers.
That is one for the engineers who made this. But yeah, it's called a kinetic compressor.
And why haven't we got them here?
They're here, Jimmy. That's your surprise today.
It's cool. I think it's a cool bit of tech. It's not really needed for a lot of scenarios, but this is a very good application for it.
Things I would like to ask the engineers if they were here. Does it, in the same way as a dynamo, create a little bit of drag? Not enough to affect most people using dynamos in their situation.
I kind of feel like it wouldn't because, well, unless the rotation is specifically part of the compression, maybe that's why.
As in drag, the hub is dragging slightly because...
to create the energy, which then gets pressurized into the valve.
So this was first spotted in the World Tour at Paris-Roubaix in 2022. So it's not brand new. And clearly pro teams are seeing the merit in using it. So I'm assuming if it created significant drag, they wouldn't be using it. Or if there is even any drag, the performance benefit of being able to adjust your tyre pressure for the course outweighs the drag.
But also, Vos just beat Kopecky in a sprint with it. So even if it does add drag, it's not, you don't need to care about it.
Exactly, yeah. So this valve is electronically controlled via two small buttons, which Vos had mounted on the inside of a drop. So like the little blip things. The system also monitors pressure loss caused by punctures and slow leaks and will apparently automatically engage the pump to fix these. I think there's probably a limit on what it can fix.
Definitely.
Based on the pressure. You know, if it's a massive explosion, probably not, but it's going to help with small punctures.
It was, I think I read somewhere else, it was like you have to ride 1 kilometer for it to add 10 psi into your valve.
Right.
So as long as you weren't losing that much pressure via a very small puncture, then you could have a system that keeps you rolling.
But 10 psi in a large volume tyre is actually a lot.
Of air, yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it? Do you think we'll see more of this type of thing? You're right, Jimmy, in what you said, that it's not an everyday needed product, especially when it costs €3,900.
I'm just thinking for bike pack, I'm like, no punches at all. Just keep riding. Psst, just sealant flying everywhere, just constantly going back in.
Just covering you in the face as you're rolling.
Well, eventually you run out of sealant. Or you wouldn't need sealant. You'd start just with nothing.
But let's be honest, though. If you've got tubeless set up well, it's fine in nearly all scenarios.
Or especially with big gravel tyres like this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I imagine the main draw of this for the pros is mixed terrain courses, which the Gravel World Champs very much was.
Oh, I think we've talked before about how I think it was Visma Lease. It was Visma Lease Bike's mobile command station in the Tour, and it was ultimately looking at how they are sort of approaching Formula One stuff into like bike racing. In Formula One, they control the tire pressures from the pits.
I remember that.
Surely we'll see more of this kind of thing in the gravel race scene as it expands.
Yeah, I would imagine it's one of those things that at that elite level of gravel racing, it will probably get more gravelly, and I think this tech is going to start showing up on all the bikes.
Next up, a British bike shop says it's been banned by Shimano for inspecting their potentially faulty cranks. Mapdec Cycle Works, who are also on YouTube, were part of Shimano's crank inspection and recall program. We've talked about this program a few times on this show, but for people who missed it, Shimano basically admitted that about 2.8 million of its Holotech cranks could potentially delaminate and break. Rather than just recalling them all, it told customers who owned cranks with a certain serial numbers to get them inspected by an authorized bike shop. Mapdec was one of those shops, and in a recent video they said that they don't bother inspecting the cranks, they just send them back for replacement. They claim Shimano saw this, and then they were told that because they had a 100% fail rate, they couldn't be part of the inspection program anymore. But Mapdec claims that the reason they didn't pass cranks is that one of their own mechanics' cranks cracked a few weeks after passing inspection, and they didn't want this to happen to customers. He said it was terrifying as he was doing hard efforts at the time, and that he was lucky to stay upright.
And they aren't the only bike shop to have had this problem. So back in episode 46, we reported how another bike shop called Surrey Hills Cycle Works inspected a customer's crank, passed it, only for it to break on a ride 5 months later. And the owner of that shop wasn't happy either, as you would expect. He said that it made the whole program feel like a bit of a gamble, and argued that if you've created cranks that fail, they should all just be exchanged. He also argued that it's still the responsibility of the rider to constantly inspect their crank after it's officially been inspected, which, in his opinion, made a mockery of the official check.
After being banned, Mapdec put out a follow-up video that we'll link in the description. In that, they clarified they do check over the cranks, but that they either mark them as fail or not sure, and then they send the information to Shimano to make the final call. They said, "We don't want to be the ones to say this is a pass, even though Shimano gave a liability release. That release in our minds wasn't strong enough, and we had customers saying, 'How do I know it's safe?' and coming back a week later saying, 'Can you inspect it again?' So eventually we'd fail it." This is a horrible situation for consumers and the bike shops.
Mm-hmm. I can understand their thinking on it. I didn't actually realise there was a liability release. That makes sense. So I guess what that means is if a bike shop has passed a crank, which then later fails, the bike shop is not liable for, I guess, any injury that might be caused. Because this is the thing, if it cracks while you're out, that's the whole reason that they've started this recall program in the first place, is that people were injured. So that liability is taken away from them, but it still creates an awkward situation, doesn't it? With the customer, you have to put time and energy into resolving that, or I don't know. I wouldn't want to be involved in it.
It seems like so much extra work for a bike shop. I know so officially, if you're a Shimano service centre, you get paid to inspect the crank, £35. But it's more than £35 worth of work, because there's all just back and forth with the customers. And it's just annoying, and it puts a bad taste in the customer's mouth probably. And it's just...
You have to send it off. You have to get it back. You have to have the customer back in.
We know, and sending things is annoying, isn't it? Like receiving, sending boxes, doing all that. Like it is work. And if you're a bike shop, you don't want that on top of all of the stock that's incoming. It's just hassle.
However, playing devil's advocate, I think the reason they probably got banned is that in that original video, they said, we don't inspect them. We just send them off.
That was a mistake to say that.
Probably. And I think they've acknowledged that with this follow-up video, and they've said, actually, we do. So potentially it was just that they misspoke. However, Shimano's seen that and they aren't happy about it.
It's shit for consumers, it's shit for bike shops, it's also shit for Shimano. I have a Dura-Race crank which needs to be inspected, and I still haven't got it inspected, and I don't want it. I just want a nice new one that is definitely not going to fail. From a bike shop's perspective, it's obviously junk because... yes, they need products to sell, but more importantly, they need customers because otherwise there's no point in having product to sell. So they're like, surely all bike shops' priority is that their customers go, I have every confidence in the work that you're doing.
Yep.
So it makes sense for them to prioritize a good outcome for the customer. Mm-hmm. From Shimano's perspective, obviously, they want to be able to control how brands that are presumably signing up to be authorized dealers represent their brand. They've decided, whether it's right or wrong, that they have a particular course of action is correct, and they need their authorized dealers to follow that process. The easy solution, so that everyone loves Shimano, everyone loves the bike shops, and everyone feels confident in what they've got, is for Shimano to replace all of the cranks.
Totally. We've said it before. We said that back when we first talked about it. We've talked about this numerous times. I feel like these stories are going to continue to crop up. And every time they do they not just whittle away at your trust in Shimano, which was probably already shaken when this whole thing kicked off, if you are someone who's affected. If you are a person with one of these affected cranks who takes it to a dealer and they say, yeah, pass, are you happy with that outcome?
No.
I wouldn't be.
I wouldn't be.
Says we've both been riding my one, which is technically, it could be one of the dangerous cranks.
But I would be happy with that as an outcome if I hadn't heard that actually it isn't an appropriate test.
Of course, it's not an appropriate test. A visual inspection from some guys at a bike shop.
Well, I would say is it's disputed whether it is an appropriate test. Shimano argues that it is an appropriate test. However, can it be an appropriate test if you have to keep performing that test and continue to monitor your crank after that test happens?
Oh, it's so annoying, isn't it? Because I guess there are some products that fail not because of this issue and because of, I don't know, they've been damaged in transit or have actually been like hit by a car or dropped and therefore they're weakened. And I guess Shimano are just trying to get out of replacing those ones.
I don't know. I think these stories are going to continue to crop up, and that is a result of there not just being a full recall.
It feels, because I remember when we talked about it when it first came out, and it felt like the cost to replace them all was a lot of money, but well within Shimano's capabilities.
Yeah.
And it's just a really, like, the entire, like, road cycling world would have gone, oh my God, Shimano are the greatest group set brand in the entire world. They care about their customers.
Perhaps it's just that the numbers of these things actually failing isn't that much. But when it does fail, it's catastrophic and therefore it makes headlines. That's the only other thing that I can assume. But I think once you've been burnt by it, Surrey Cycle Works and Mapdec, if they have had an instance, even if it's just one, of passing something and then it then failing at a later point, I can completely see why they would not be willing to confidently pass something again.
Just maybe don't say it on YouTube.
Just maybe don't say. I think the problem was that they said they weren't they weren't actually inspecting them. That was their bad. But I mean, are they bothered to be out? Is it a sad shame for them that they're now out of this thing? Yeah, they've done themselves a favour.
You have to pay to be a Shimano service centre. Mm-hmm. That's why Nick didn't do it. Well, probably amongst other reasons. But it's like, hang on, you got to pay and then you got to do all this stuff. He's like, no.
I should say that we reached out to Shimano and Madison for a comment on this, and both of them declined to comment. So on to the next one.
So I think it is about the anniversary of us knowing each other. I don't even know what year it would be. It feels like 50 years of knowing you, but it's probably actually like 9 or 10 or 8 or something like that. But I came up with a present for you.
Amazing.
The actual inspiration for it was I got served an advert for this thing.
Is it the Gorilla Sofa?
No. And then I remembered that Chris Hall has actually been doing these things for ages. And then I had this good idea. So here it is.
Piece of paper. Ooh. Oh. I know what this is.
Describe what you're seeing, Francis.
This is one of Chris Hall, our good friend's, like Strava route map things.
Yeah.
Poster. Riding to Jimmi's. Distance 13 kilometers. Total elevation 160 meters. I thought it was a lot.
I was trying to find the straightest line I could find. Like something that we do regularly that is like an incredibly insignificant thing. It was nearly backyard bike shop to the studio, but that was a bit too boring.
That is it's a lovely colour as well. I'll put it on my wall. Thank you.
Chris said, "What colour do you want it?" And I said, "I don't care, just whatever."
He chose a good colour.
He did, yeah.
It's green for the
Could have got it framed,
audio
but
people.
I didn't want to. It's too much work.
I'll blue tack it.
Yeah, yes, exactly.
Yeah, blue tack.
So, I guess I should give Chris a shout out because I told him about this, I think, Friday. I was like, do you think you can do this for Tuesday? And he was like, no, but I'll see. I'll try. And it showed up yesterday. So thanks, Chris, for sorting it out.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Next, let's talk about Lachlan Morton's record-breaking lap of Australia. He rode an average of 450 kilometres a day for a month and beat the previous record of cycling around Australia by a week. That is an astronomical amount of riding, isn't it?
450k a day that is horrible.
So his total ride was 14,210 kilometres, which is 8,829 miles. Oof. What was the world record thing? Isn't that 18,000 kilometres? Or was it 18,000 miles?
She did 18,000 miles, 29,000 kilometres. Yeah.
So it's 10,000 miles off of the distance required for a world record.
That's still a very long, but Australia is massive.
Just over a month.
Yeah, 30 days it took him. 30 days, 9 hours or something like that.
Wow. That is
450k a day.
That is bonkers. So he said he has never been so relieved to finish something. The trip was documented on his Instagram account and also EF Education Easy posts. It basically looked like a bunch of really, really, really hot, long days. Reminded me of your trip across Australia with Chris, where you just rode in a straight line for 1,000,000 miles a day. He also got really ill as well and battled through that. And I think he still did about 500k on the day that he was ill. I do not condone this. If you are ill, do not ride a bike.
Yeah, there was a day that he apparently woke up drenched in sweat, vomited up his breakfast, and then went on to do 500 kilometers in a day. Oh, no.
He also managed to raise £63,250, which is about $83,000 US for the Indigenous Literacy Foundation in the process. So after absorbing all of this information, think that Lachlan Morton is an absolute legend. So £63,000 for a good cause is absolutely mint. A month, 450k a day.
Are you about to reassess your overrated, underrated decision from a few weeks ago?
I'm not talking about that. 450 kilometers a day for a month is like, that's astronomical.
450k a day for a day.
450 in a week is astronomical.
Horrible.
I kind of feel like he's going to take down Beaumont's around the world record.
Well, there have been rumours that potentially this is what he is aiming for next.
Because that's a strong training ride for that. So it's
oh God,
yeah, it's a strong training.
It is though, isn't it?
He's the guy from. Have you ever seen Belleville Rendezvous or Belleville Triplets?
No.
2 names for it. It's a movie where a guy gets like, I won't spoil it. He's the man from that.
Okay. I think he is definitely going to go for that record. and I think he is going to smash it to pieces.
Do you?
Obliterate it. Beaumont's, I think, is 78 days. It's 70-something days. I'm pretty sure it's 78 days, which is incredibly fast. I think with Lachlan Morton's EF resources available to him, they'll be able to execute a supported one and he'll obliterate it. I kind of feel like he's at the point where unsupported, he would still beat Beaumont's supported record.
Who knows? It's a funny one, this, isn't it? Because these records stand for a long time. And part of that, I always think this with records in general, official records cost a lot of money to set up and actually do. And some, like, the logistics behind that and the money that goes behind that.
More and more so, right?
Yeah, and it weeds people out primarily just because of that. So you have to have not only the support, not only the money, but also the skills to be able to do it. And actually, he probably does have both, because I think that EF are a very clever team in setting up this alternative pro calendar.
Yeah.
Technically, he's not registered as a World Tour Pro anymore.
No, but he's getting the headlines of it. It's clever, isn't it?
As if he went from winning Unbound to this.
I know.
Not even that long after.
Training ride. And now this is just apparently you can't. Jimmy, this is just a training ride.
They're all training rides.
Yeah.
I think it'll be the next 2 years. He'll obliterate the world record for round the world.
So much of that must be logistics, like getting over borders and things like that, and it all counts towards the total time, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. And if you have resources like that behind you, then I can't see it not happening. It would have to be like a problem, an injury or something like that. But as we've discovered, getting sick does not affect him. So,
I mean, a lot of this seems quite dangerous as well. Like, you must be in such a state of fatigue, not only physically, but mentally when you're doing something like this. And the amount of concentration you need to be able to spend that much time on a bike every day on a road where cars are passing you and massive lorries, like Australia's known for that, isn't it?
They're not safe roads. The bit that I rode was the Nullarbor along the bottom, and you're constantly we even put little mirrors in our bar ends so you could see behind you, and you have to make sure these road trains, they call them, which are multiple trucks linked together, going stonking past you. There's not enough space on the road. There's usually gravel on the left-hand side you can escape into. But if you're and they'll give you space, most of the drivers will give you space. A couple that nearly killed us. But the problem is if they're crossing at the point you are, then there is no space for two trucks and you.
Yep.
So you basically just have to bail on the side of the road. And if you're really tired and you're sleep deprived, and it's just horrible. It's some horrible hell. Parts of that.
It feels like there's a word of warning in here for, he is a role model to look up to. He's very inspirational. However, he has not only a lot of experience doing this, but also a lot of support as well. So as a normal cyclist wanting to emulate even a fraction of this, you need to be aware that
it's not smooth sailing.
It's not smooth sailing.
I want to give a quick shout out because I know, speaking of unsupported achievements, and I'm sure this has not got the recognition it deserves. I know there's a guy called Joseph Kendrick who has the record for a fixed gear lap of Australia, and admittedly not that many people have attempted it. So during the record, he left his bike at a house, flew home to see his family in the UK, and then flew back and got his bike back and continued on the same loop. But he had like a flip-flop hub, so he would change gear occasionally. Like, okay, this section is going to be, 2% for a long time, and put his wheel in the right gear, and then he'll switch it again when it's a slight descent. There's so much of that ride is just a long drags, false flat, and
so
things.
he took a bike ride that was inevitably going to be horrible and made it worse, is what you're saying.
He's a glutton for that kind of thing.
I'm just having a look at him now. His total distance was 15,867 kilometres.
Oh, so he took a detour somewhere.
Yeah.
Slept in a bivvy bag on the side of the road with the snakes and spiders.
All right, so I'm going to make a prediction well ahead of time. So I think Lachlan is going to go for the world record, and I think that if all goes to plan, So it might not necessarily be the first time. I think he will take it under 60 days.
Oh.
Seems like a lot of days.
He beat this one by over a week.
I think that would have been a strong record as well that he was up against. So Beaumont's is sub 80. I think he'll go sub 60. And finally, Luke Rowe is leaving Ineos Grenadiers after 13 years to become the new director sportif of Decathlon AG2R Mondial.
He's finally going to ride a different bike.
Well, we saw him at the Pinarello thing that we got forced to go to, and he was literally like gushing over the new bike. Do you remember he was talking to...
He's paid to be.
What's the...
Gushing.
What's the guy that owns Pinarello? What's his name? Ernesto? Or have I made that up? Mr. Pinarello.
That might be right.
Do you remember he was like basically saying to Mr. Pinarello, oh yeah, my retirement present, be really nice to get one of these bikes.
He's been on that team on Ineos and the iterations for so long that he's only been on a Pinarello for his whole career, essentially.
I would imagine so, yeah. As in, like, even as a junior, he probably had a hookup from G or whoever else was around him, because they were all mates and hanging around with each other. Because his Luke Rowe's brother was also in that clique as well, but then didn't, and then married Danny King, now Rowe, instead. So we already knew he was set to retire at the end of the season, but it was announced on Monday that he's joining the French team, where he's set to help lead their classic squad. Luke's got significant experience in classics like Paris-Roubaix and the Flemish and Ardennes races, and the team says he'll be at the centre of their preparation for these races. He's also hoping to support the team's ambition to become more international. I think this is probably a good move for the team because they are very French, and that isn't a bad thing, but I think they should be more than that.
Well, we are... English-speaking countries are very crap at engaging with stuff that's not in English. And anglicising stuff, although has a lot of downsides, tends to, I guess, do better on a bigger stage, doesn't it? Whether that's right or wrong.
It's a good business move.
I wonder if this is Decathlon forcing this a bit, because obviously they've bought into this team. They've apparently thrown like properly investing in it, and they want it to be one of the best teams in the world. They're not, it's not a half-assed attempt at just sponsoring a team. They are fully committed to pushing this team up to being one of the best, and they probably know that to do that, they need to look at the entire world's cyclists to get the best talent, not just one nation. I think the level of marginality in pro cycling now just doesn't allow a single nation to be dominant across the board. Mm-hmm. Good luck to Luke Rowe.
Yeah, lovely guy.
Next we have Fluff Up of the Week.
Oh, this one's on me.
Oh, thank God. I feel like it's been me for many weeks now.
We are currently having work done on our house, part of which involves building a new roof, which is insulated because it wasn't before. The roofer, I didn't appreciate, kind of overlooks the room in which I get ready. And I was told, Jimmy did tell me this, to be fair. He said, be careful what you're doing because the roof is on the roof. But I kind of just forgot. There was a knock at the door. I was editing in my pajamas because that's how I like to edit. And I thought, I can't answer the door in my pajamas. So I just whipped into the room, pulled my trousers down, put some jeans on, turned around, looked at the window on my way out, and the roofer was there. So I moonied our roofer.
Did he say anything?
He didn't say anything, no.
No, he was very polite.
Nah.
Very professional. Took a picture.
Yeah.
What do you say in that scenario, though? Exactly.
Nothing.
Exactly.
Nothing. Everyone just pretends it didn't happen.
It didn't happen. Exactly.
Have you flashed up the picture that you took?
No.
On the screen?
No. That was for his eyes only.
They did also manage to burst two water pipes whilst putting some plasterboard in as well, didn't they?
That's the kind of thing I would do if I was a builder.
Just for fun.
Yeah. There's less things, there isn't a bike equivalent. Oh no, yeah. Puncturing a hydraulic hose.
Which you also like doing.
Yeah, exactly.
Or I would probably
if I was a builder,
argue,
I'd just be drilling holes and there'd just be water coming out everywhere.
I'd probably argue a threading a bolt, or what's the other word for knackering
stripping the threads.
Well, it wouldn't be the thread, would it? Stripping it. Basically, destroying a bolt.
Yeah. Titanium bolt. They explode well. Time for another round of overrated or underrated. I'm going to read out a list of things, and you're both going to tell me if you think they're overrated or underrated. Full disc wheels, suggested by Eva. I mean, this is a very specific... If you're racing a time trial or a triathlon, you might consider using them because they are the fastest wheels in most situations, as long as you're not riding from the bottom of the hill to the top of the hill.
Are they overrated?
Like a hilly time trial, maybe not. But.
They're probably not overrated because they are definitely faster. Does it make sense for anyone to go and buy a disc wheel?
I'll be so annoying.
No.
No.
Do you remember when we put those disc wheel covers on your Scott bike?
It was one normal disc wheel, and then on the front wheel, we got a front disc wheel cover because front disc wheel is quite hard to find.
And we rode it around the Pennines with a disc front to disc, like double disc.
Yeah.
And it was quite fun.
With a braking surface on, may I just add to that? Because you can get track disc wheels.
It was fun.
I think we will see, well, I'm going underrated because we're going to start seeing more full front disc wheels in races. I think Wout van Aert might have done it at the Tour de France.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was done before. I can't remember the riders' names who've done it. It's not. But a lot of people think it's really unstable. It's going to get blown around. I'm going to fall off. But actually, the speeds that you're going, it's just as stable as a very deep front wheel.
For like all-out top-end performance, it's underrated.
Yeah.
As just a wheel, like unbelievably overrated. Don't bother getting.
You got to have a little annoying valve hole which is sticking out, and then and inevitably the pump you get then doesn't fit in the hole, so you can't pump it up. Just that annoying. Next, one-piece cockpits, suggested by Noah.
This is so easy.
Overrated.
Unbelievably overrated. They're just annoying. You can't change. It's like it's all fixed. They're all basically integrated now as well. So you can't change anything without significant amounts of work or cost. Rubbish.
They look good though, and if you just employ a person to do that,
they look good. I think some of the reason why that Pinarello that we tested felt so good is because of the integrated bar and stem. It was really well made and well integrated into the front of the bike. I think that's why it felt so stiff. It's just all designed with everything in mind. However, I will say overrated because of not only can you not change anything as easily, but depending on the head tube angle of your bike, the drop handlebars end up in a different position. So we find that on a lot of small bikes, which all of us ride, you end up with drop handlebars that are tilted and your hands kind of slide off them because they haven't been designed with smaller riders in mind, like nearly everything in cycling. Overrated.
So yeah, get rid of them.
Well, don't get rid of them.
No, get rid of them.
No, I want the Pinarello ones.
Unnecessary.
That's the thing you love the most about the Pinarello.
No, but the shape of the bar, not the fact that it's integrated.
Oh, so you just want normal stem with those bars on?
If I could buy those bars as bars, I would buy those bars as bars.
Yeah.
But I can only buy those bars as an integrated bar, I believe.
And then you also have, because you can just rotate them because it's round, so you can then make sure the drop handlebars
get it wherever you want it.
Spot on.
But like I don't need like micro adjustments in terms of like position. Like if my saddle is different by half a centimeter, it doesn't really affect me. But I like tinkering with the front end of my bike and getting like trying my bars in a slightly different angle and getting my shifters in slightly different paces and just getting everything kind of like tweaked and adjusted. And you can't do that with an integrated bar.
Fair play.
Get in the sea. What's next?
Next up is wide road tyres, 30 to 34C for normal people. Suggested by Edward.
This is another easy one.
Scissor hands, not a normal person.
Underrated.
Underrated, yeah.
Everyone should now be riding 30 to 34. You will have a more enjoyable ride.
Oh, you'll have a lovely time, yeah. A lot of wheels, even performance-oriented wheel sets are now so wide. They're being designed around 28mm tyres, 30mm tyres. And I don't care about performance anymore.
That's not true, but okay, move on.
Implementing training rides into your commutes, suggested by Jason. Ooh, I don't know what Jimmy's going to say here.
There's a caveat to my answer. It's underrated. The caveat is you can't let it then become dangerous. So like if you have a busy commute, it just doesn't work. However, it's a use. It makes sense.
We are blessed.
You're riding anyway.
We are blessed with 2 commutes. One's I've got a map of here.
Yeah.
We're basically on nice quiet roads or off road, and it is fantastic. I can't help but squeeze in a training ride. I'm doing inverted commas there. So what am I training for? On my commute home, because if I didn't ride hard, it would take me an hour. If I do ride hard, it takes me 40 minutes. This is a big difference.
Not all training rides are hard rides, though, Francis.
That's true. That's true. Coach Emily.
Done you there.
You're as bad as Coach Ken. Just stay in zone 2. Heart rate cap. Electrical. Wait, what did we say? Overrated or underrated? Yeah, I agree with you.
Underrated.
Yeah, don't do anything dangerous, but it's efficient.
Depends on the commute, doesn't it?
I like your ideas surrounding commuting. That it's basically free exercise because you'd be doing it anyway. You're spending that time anyway.
Yes, as in like you're either in a car, train, bus, whatever. So by doing it on bike, it costs nothing, and you're getting health value at the same time. Mm-hmm. I've always loved commuting. Commuting by bike is such a win.
Or running to work.
Yes, that as well. My London commute used to be absolute perfection. So there was a point I used to work just over London Bridge, and I used to live in Brixton. And there's so many sets of traffic lights that you could do an interval session in between the traffic lights. So you do the first section, have a little warm up. It was quite a distance as well. I think, ish for London anyway. It was about maybe just under 10 miles or something or other. So it was long enough that you could do the first 5-10 minutes to loosen up, and then you just do full sprint intervals in between the traffic lights. Just get to the front of the light, burn yourself off, absolutely nail it, knowing that in 50 meters time you're going to be at another red light.
There's loads of other people there,
all doing
basically
the
North Bank world champs, and everybody does the same thing.
Yeah.
But the timing of the lights means even if you sprint absolutely out, and you end up at the lights, and then the slow people then are in exactly the same place as you.
Well, it's only
making it all pointless.
Respective slow, but they might not actually be slow.
Slower,
yeah.
The people who aren't trying.
The problem I used to find at that period of time is I was very excited to ride bikes. So I basically used to do an interval session twice a day, 5 days a week, and that is not healthy. But I was very fast.
Do you know what the initiation is for the Hells Angels? I mean, it's maybe not one nationwide one.
Are you speaking from experience?
My dad did the initiation for the Hells Angels.
Are you even? Isn't it like the SAS? You're not allowed to talk about it.
Well, I didn't do it, so I'll spill the beans. This was a long time ago. He lived in Leicester.
Is he about to be in trouble? You're going to go home and be like, where's he gone?
He's just gone.
Well, not that he lives with you.
To be fair, though, if he went through the initiation, then clearly he's double R'd, so he'll be all right.
No, but Hells Angels is nice now, isn't it? They do like charity work and things like that.
Yeah, as a friend.
Oh.
Oh wait, no, we have to bleep all of this.
We're going to get in trouble.
Yeah, we can't.
I don't want to get in trouble with the Hells Angels.
Do you want me to tell you what the initiation is or not?
What?
Please
I'm
don't get us
now. I'm scared. I'm scared.
In Leicester, back in probably the 60s, I would guess. There was a strip somewhere in Leicester that had a lot of lights, and you basically had to go, and once you go, you can't stop regardless of what the lights say.
No.
Naughty.
Unlike Jimmy's interval session.
Yeah.
The opposite of my interval session, yeah.
So apparently, I think he did it. He had a motorbike with a sidecar, which is, I think, a little bit uncool, but...
Well, it is now, but maybe at the time
it was
you
cool.
filled it full of like guns and drugs.
Maybe. I don't think he was with them for long.
Justin and I met the Hells Angels when we were cycling across America, and I remember seeing like a group of people. They were all on motorbike. My eyesight's really bad, and we were cycling towards them. We were like, and they were staring at us. And bear in mind, this is me with a bikepacking bike with a trailer with a wheelchair on it, and Justin riding his hand bike behind me or in front of me. And they were kind of just staring at us, and we were like, "Oh, we're in the middle of nowhere here. Are we in trouble?" Like they looked really angry. And then we got closer, and then we got right close to them, and they just went, "Way!"
Oh, that's nice.
We had a big USA flag flapping in the wind, which I feel like helped us.
Yeah.
That's a very good move for riding through America,
Yes,
isn't it?
for multiple reasons.
Stick a flag on.
Iconic. Also for safety.
I used to do that when we bikepacked in Wales. I'd have a Welsh flag for also the same reason.
For safety.
Yeah.
The last one of overrated or underrated is electrical tape fixes.
Suggested by Jake.
Suggested by Jake.
I don't exactly know what this means.
Fixing
but
things with electrical tape.
I love electrical tape. because it has so many uses. So
What's
I'm
your
assuming
favorite type of tape?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, same.
So I don't exactly know if there's a specific application or what this is referring to, but it's always going to be my preference. I actually have some in my pocket right now.
Do you?
Yeah.
No, I don't really.
Top 3 tapes. Electrical tape.
Duct tape.
No. Double-sided tape.
Oh,
no.
rubbish.
Then duct tape. No, good quality, like the Scotch one.
No.
Not some cheap knockoff. It's good. It's really good. Sometimes I just tape things in my house.
Do you?
I don't need taping, but you can just tape things. You put sticky, it's double-sided.
Yeah, but you can
Two-side
just get a normal piece of sellotape and wrap it round on itself.
No, because then it's like...
Oh, yeah, I see your point.
I've actually just been reminded a cycling application for double-sided tape, and it's how I actually used to do it, which is probably against the correct recommendations. I used to use tub tape to tape my tubs on rather than glue.
Tub tape or...
Tub tape, double-sided tape. It's a double-sided tape.
Yeah. It's not
tub
as secure.
Yeah, I know, which
But
is
it's
why it's
fine.
probably not recommended. So I used to have here's two applications of tape in one go.
Not electrical tape, though.
Oh no, it is.
Oh.
I'm going to add this one in.
Oh.
So a spare tub, pre-taped with double-sided tub tape. So the one side is taped on, and the other side still has the wrappery bit on it. Folded up on my seat post, and then electrical taped to it in case I got a tub puncture whilst I was out on a training ride.
Double tape. Electrical tape. It's handy. Or if you're using normal rim tape, I wouldn't, maybe not tubeless. Maybe not tubeless. Maybe it would. I bet it would work.
Yeah.
You can just use it as rim tape. Keep putting layers.
Mm-hmm. We have definitely done that at a point.
Yeah, because we never haven't got rim tape's expensive comparatively, so you might as well just try electrical tape. We got a lot of electrical tape.
We do now, yes.
Yeah.
I think I demanded we got some more.
Top 3. It's definitely top one tapes.
Top one.
Duct tape or gaffer's tape. You can use that to repair a carbon frame. Do you remember that video we made? As long as it is an implosion, not an explosion. Depends on the crack in your frame. I mean, don't try it at home.
That's what it. This doesn't sound like
I think we all got to the same point then, because I was like, yeah, don't do that yourself, though.
Don't do it.
Thanks for those suggestions. If you want to suggest anything for Overrated or Underrated, please send them into wildonespodcast@cademedia.co.uk, and we might read them out in a future episode. Shall we do Listeners Takeover?
Yes, let's do it. Last week, we talked about the best way to carry a shirt to work when you commute. Mm-hmm. So we had this message from Alistair. He said, I discovered a shirt carrier on Amazon. That's a game changer. Completely flat shirts on arrival. Fits in any backpack or pannier. I use it for travel as well as bike commuting. Just takes all the guesswork out of folding or rolling. Ospreys do one too, but I found a cheap non-branded one on Amazon. He sent us a link. I'll put it in the description for anyone interested. It basically looks like a laptop case. That's how I would describe it.
Two things on the Amazon link. It's not an affiliate link.
Nah.
We do not make any money from it. And the other thing is, I remember when these things came out, and I feel like there was like a big crowdfundy thing at the point where I wasn't commuting into town on bike anymore, and my office was much closer, so I didn't have to wear shirts. But I imagine this is an incredibly good solution for commuting with a shirt.
It just looks like a square with a shirt in it that you have to fold, and it gives you instructions on how to fold it. So you might as well just fold it and put it in your normal bag.
Yeah, but it keeps it nice. This is for people that actually iron their clothes and need to look good in the office.
You got an iron?
It's not something that you would know anything about.
If millennials did anything, it's destroying the iron.
Yeah.
I also don't have an iron anymore because I don't need to be in an office with a nice suit.
Well, I was going to update the dress code soon for Cade Media.
To what? Suits?
Jimmy has to wear a suit.
Okay. Well, I have considered it on numerous occasions.
We should buy suits.
I've already got suits. You've already got suits. You don't need to buy suits.
I have to make my suits bigger. So put on weight.
We also had an email in from another Alistair. It's a different one. He goes by Ali. He just wanted to differentiate.
Does he actually? Or you done that just?
No, he does. He said, I could see in his email, it said Alistair something, but at the end he signed it off saying Ali. Because I was like, oh, it's the same guy. But no, it's a different person. He said, hi all, love the show. Two questions from...
He's already had 2 questions.
Two questions from me. Firstly, you guys talk about bike packing a lot, and I was planning a ride from Toulouse to Bilbao with a trip over the Tourmalet along my way. My question is, how do I get my bike there and back? if I buy a bike box or bag, but not the soft chic-on one from the last episode, then I need to post it. Then I need to post that to my destination once I've built my bike, which doesn't seem very practical. As in, he'll fly it to Toulouse and then he will need it to be in Bilbao. So he says, I still have my bike box from when I bought the bike, and I've seen advice saying use that, bin it at the start of the ride, and then buy a new one from a bike shop at the end of the ride. But how practical is this for a group of 5-ish people? How many boxes are we likely to be able to find in bike shops in Bilbao? Oh.
Definitely an actual cardboard bike box is the way to go. I have a theory that flying with a box that handlers can like easily move around means your bike is going to be better off. I think the problem with the soft bags,
people go, what is this?
They're too hard to maneuver, and then they end up just getting thrown somewhere. Whereas a cardboard box, it stands up. It's very easy to slot and push and move around. And I think as a result of that, it just gets moved around better.
Yeah, they have handles, don't they?
Typically, yeah. Or you cut one in, because we've done it, and you just cut a handle in.
Yeah.
The key is to make the box as small as possible, even if that means cutting some of it down. Getting 5 boxes from a bike shop in Bilbao on the other end could potentially be a problem.
Only for 3 of the people.
It becomes Hunger Games.
You just don't tell them the plan. Go to the bike shop with 2 of you, get 2 boxes, and then they got to sort out. It's their problem. Why
is 2 definitely fine but 5 not?
Because we've done that as 2. You always, there's 2 of you, there's always 2 bike boxes. The universe provides things like that, Jimmy.
We did nearly have issues though when we were in Barcelona.
No, we didn't. The only issue we had is that I was really hungover. The boxes were fine, but the boxes they gave us were like 7 times bigger than it. There was like a penny farthing box.
Yeah.
E-bike box.
It was an e-bike box.
That's why it was so big.
Yeah.
And then we did cut them down.
You can cut them down. Maybe ring ahead.
I was going to say, try and understand what bike shops there are and just get in touch with them. Because like Backyard, the amount of times we go into Backyard and go, can we get a box? And they're like, no, we've already smashed them up. Yeah,
but really you're doing them a favour. Most of them have like a cardboard service, don't they? And they just get their stuff collected. So it probably doesn't cost them any more or less.
But getting in touch with them might mean that they can then put the boxes to the side rather than shred them up.
Yeah, and I would just bring them some sweeties to say thanks.
I've never had to pay for a box. Have you ever had to pay for a box?
No, never. But I will try and reimburse the shop with a bribe.
A bribe?
Yeah, just give them a little.
Okay, so paying for the box,
like a Toblerone.
Okay,
it is waste though. At the end of the day.
Yeah, no, but they're still doing you a favour.
Well, yeah. Well, you're doing them a favour.
It's two-way favour.
It is a two-way favour.
Two-way favour.
What's the worst case scenario if you get to Bilbao and you can't get a box?
You ride home.
You wrap your bike in loads and loads and loads and loads of bubble wrap.
Which you get from
a bubble wrap shop.
Okay.
You need that anyway, usually, because the bike shop will sometimes give you some packing stuff, but I prefer to go to hardware store, get a big roll of bubble wrap, and then wrap the bike up when it goes in the box as well. Back wheel on, front wheel off, bars tucked underneath. Mech shifted in or off completely.
I remember the Adventure Syndicate. I can't remember which one of them it was, but one of them or two of them did some massive ride, and then I remember seeing the bike packed after the trip to fly home, and it was literally bubble wrap and cling film.
You can do, yeah.
And I remember at the time thinking that, much like my box theory, that actually that's going to be so easy for it to be moved around. You could literally just like grab the top tube and just lift it up and move it, and the handlers are going to see that and they're not going to throw it. They're just, because you're going to go, oh, it's a bike.
I thought an airline would not take an item just completely wrapped in bubble wrap, but they will. A few of my friends have done it to Spain before, like ridden to the airport, bubble wrap their bike up, and then just got on the plane. Super light bike box.
Cool, well, good luck with that. And second, that sounded really sarcastic. It wasn't meant to. Secondly, you guys mentioned, this is his second question. Secondly, you guys mentioned Zwift in the last episode and rated it higher than Strava. I don't know how much thought was put into that really, but what's the cheapest I can expect to be able to get started on Zwift? It seems quite unattainable as a start-out cyclist when I can just put a jacket on and go outside. Thanks for all your hard work. Love the show, Ali.
Can I start this off with what we were saying I'm guessing that was love, hate, kill.
Tolerate, kill.
At no point are we or I saying that you need or should go out and get Zwift. If you don't have it and you don't really see a place, do not let what we have said think that means that you need it. You categorically do not. If you are very happy putting on a jacket and going outside, keep doing that.
Do it, yeah.
Don't get Zwift.
It's quite a barrier to entry, isn't it?
Oh, massive,
Because
yeah.
it's turbo, something that
Space.
does power. Is that
Well,
it?
no, you don't need power because the turbo would typically have power.
No, but not all turbos do.
A lot of
They're
them
getting
do
better
now,
though,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
It's definitely a privilege and it's definitely something that's not actually needed.
Yeah, so I would say it's come about from... I always had a turbo from when I used to race because that was just how you got through winter training or structured training because, you know, if you needed to do really set intervals, the chances of you having a patch of road outside or traffic lights or traffic or whatever, you just could never get clean intervals. So I always used to do my structured sessions on a turbo, even if it was in summer. So I always had a turbo, and therefore adding Zwift to that was never that big a deal. But would I ever suggest Zwift looks like fun, therefore I will start turboing? That doesn't feel quite right to me.
It's a distraction from the hell of turboing, isn't it?
Yes.
That is all it's good for. And I also think it's only really great if you have a smart trainer, because otherwise you're just pedaling, watching something, which isn't...
Oh, I turn mine off. I turn the smart feature off usually, so I can just pedal, because I was always using it as like a training thing.
So why do you even have Zwift on then? Just put the TV on.
Just to watch the little man going.
Wow, you have a very simple mind sometimes, don't you?
I tried to keep it simple, thank you.
So they're going...
Just because you can't be at one with yourself, Jimmy.
Oh, no, I'm
and
at one.
the little man, so two of you. At two with yourself.
Zwift, you're paying £17.99 now a month for that privilege.
Wow.
So if you are doing it just to look at a little man, then you could probably spend that money better elsewhere. I had a look at the prices. Slightly cheap if you buy a yearly subscription.
But it isn't. Can I just say it isn't, though? Because I have never had Zwift for an entire year.
Yeah, that's true, actually. Yeah, why would you have it during the summer? Yeah.
And I'm sure they're trying to... It works for them for people to... Like, they know how seasonal their product is.
That's a very good point, Jimmy. They do offer a free trial. So I don't know whether Ali has a turbo trainer already, but I guess if you do, you could try it and see whether it seems like it's worth the price. Some alternatives. Rowe is £10.75 a month, so slightly cheaper. They offer a free trial as well. That MyWhoosh is free with ads. If you already own a Garmin or a Tax Turbo, you can get free training plans and the Garmin Connect and the Tax app. I guess it depends what you're using Zwift for. Zwift offer training plans. Zwift offer live races,
Fitness tests.
So it can be a good way, a fun way of getting a more structured workout, or simply a distraction from the hell of turbo training. But at the end of the day, if you have the cojones to just get outside, then you're a better person than I am.
I guess some people use it at like gyms as well, don't they? Because they like a lot of gyms have like watt bikes.
You can connect it to the watt bike.
Yeah, I've definitely seen people do that.
Put it on your phone.
But still,
It runs on a phone. That's not mad. Phones run games without graphics now.
But I just don't think I would ever do that. If I'm on a watt bike in a gym, I'm not then going to be going, oh, I'll bang some Zwift on.
Depends how dedicated to the drops you are.
No, I usually use the hoods.
Drops. Oh.
Yeah, I think £17.99 a month is a lot of... You really ought to be... You're either a Zwift person or you're not a Zwift person, I think.
Do you still run without headphones?
Yes.
I've started doing that.
It's wonderful.
It is, isn't it? There's something about it. And your mind just wanders usually about top 3 tapes and things like that.
As long as you remember to check in with your body.
Yeah.
To not let like your form descend into gibberish.
Which is more likely to happen if you're not listening to music.
Regardless, in all scenarios, you can't let your mind drift off too much that you don't remember good form. But yes, I find running without music just incredibly calm and a space to think, whereas I don't get that on a bike because I'm always thinking about not crashing or being hit by a car.
We should make some better routes for you.
Like what?
Well, this one here to my house.
Well, it's double bad then, because then not only do I have to still think about cars trying to hit me, I end up at Francis's house.
My house is nice. Every time you've been at my house, you've got
I've eaten pizza and Coke
an
Zero.
omelette. And what?
Coke Zero.
Is that what you associate with my house?
Yes.
Yes.
A million cans of Coke Zero.
Oh, I've banned Coke Zero.
Yeah.
Have you?
Yeah,
Sad.
I haven't had Coke Zero in ages. That's why I always stare at it when you get it from the shop and I'm like, Coke Zero.
And thus why there is no reason for me to go to your house anymore.
Please keep sending in your emails, stories, suggestions, and other fun stuff to wildonespodcast@cademedia.co.uk.
Let us know your top 3 tapes.
That's all for this week. Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you follow and or subscribe so you don't miss out on the next episode. Thank you and see you next week.
Bye.
See ya.
The phone jacker version.
That was Love in an Elevator by Jimmi and the Francises.
Wow, I thought someone had just played Aerosmith.
They had.
Oh.
Yeah.